Hare Krishna devotees, today's shloka for the day is shloka number 39. And what we discussed last week, at least the Thursday and Friday shlokas, was that Arjuna is asking questions. So in shloka 37, Arjuna has said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? So what if your attempt is feeble, or what if your attempt is not complete? O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? So in this analogy of the cloud, Arjuna was concerned that as you're beginning to give up or stray away or redirect your efforts from the material to the spiritual, but you're not fully spiritualized yet, is there a possibility that there will be a loss both on the material front as well as the spiritual front? It literally kind of leaves you in no man's land. So what's the position? Does that person have any position? Because they are neither materially successful nor spiritually successful. So in today's shloka, Arjuna is going to essentially say, my dear Lord, these questions that I have, only you can resolve the doubt that I have. So that's the shloka that we will be reciting today, shloka 39. Ye tanme samshayam Krishna chetumarhasya sheshatah tvadanyas samshayasyasya chetanahyupapadyate etanme samshayam Krishna chetumarhasya sheshatah tvadanyas samshayasyasya chetanahyupapadyate etanme samshayam Krishna chetumarhasya sheshatah tvadanyas samshayasyasya chetanahyupapadyate. Please recite after me. Etanme samshayam Krishna
Etanme samsayam Krishna
samshayam Krishna,
samsayam Krishna
not samsa, it is samsha. Etanme samshayam Krishna
Etanme samshayam Krishna
chetumarhasya sheshatah
chetumarhasya
chetumarhasya
sheshatah
chetumarhasya sheshatah tvadanyah samshayasyasya
tvadanya samshayasyasya
chetanahyupapadyate
chetanahupapadyate
etanme samshayam Krishna
Etanme samshayam Krishna
chetumarhasya sheshatah
chetumarhasya
hasya
sheshatah
tvadanyas samshayasyasya
tvadanya
Danya
samshayasyasya
samshayasya
chetanahyupapadyate
chetanahupapadyate
etanme samshayam Krishna
me samshayam Krishna
Chetumarhasya sheshatah
चेतुमर्हस्य शेषतः
vadanyas samshayasya
वदन्यसंशयस्यास्य
cheta nahyupapadyate.
चेतानहुपपद्यते
Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki etat. This is me, my, samshayam, doubt. Krishna, O Krishna, chetum, to dispel. Arhasi, you are requested. Asheshataha, completely. Tvat, than you. Anyaha, other. Samshayasya, of the doubt. Asya, this. Cheta, mover. Na, never. He, certainly. Upapadyate, is to be found. Translation. This is my doubt, O Krishna.
This is my doubt.
And I ask you to dispel it completely.
I ask you to
But for you,
for
no one is to be found
no one is
who can destroy this doubt.
can destroy
So Arjuna is expressing that he trusts no one except Krishna to answer this very fundamental doubt. As we said, this is not a whimsical question of Arjuna. This is a very serious question. Most of us may have that question. You know, we experience frustration when we don't experience success right away. And when we don't experience success right away, it creates doubts in our mind as to whether this process actually works. So it's no surprise that Arjuna is asking this question. Of course, the question is in the context of a process that's quite difficult, which is to practice dhyana yoga. But in any case, as Krishna answers this question, Krishna is going to answer this question in the context of all the different parts of yoga and not just dhyana yoga. So the fundamental question is, if the mind deviates the yogi, what is his destination? What happens to him? And this is the longest series of questions that Arjuna is asking in the Bhagavad Gita, which is 3 consecutive questions in 3 consecutive shlokas. When do doubts come into our mind? When we don't have all of the information or all of the knowledge. So essentially, doubts arise from ignorance. So we need access to the right information to dispel our ignorance. But first of all, we need to acknowledge that we are ignorant. If we think we know everything, then there's no need for you to try and dispel anything, because first of all, there is no doubt in you. But doubts arise when we don't have sufficient knowledge. And the best way to dispel that doubt is to seek that information, to dispel that doubt. So in effect, or in addition, I should say, simply reading the scriptures and getting theoretical knowledge about the scriptures also is not sufficient to dispel doubts. Because as you're practicing your sadhana, you know that this sadhana is going to yield results. But knowing doesn't eliminate this thought process of what if. So another reason why doubts creep into our minds is because the Shastras apparently have many contradictions. When there are contradictions in Shastra, they can only be reconciled through realizations. So even the greatest of acharyas do not possess all knowledge, and they will never claim to possess all knowledge, because only the Lord is Sarvagya. Sarvagya, the word in English is omniscient, someone who knows everything. So the only person who knows everything is the Supreme Lord. The Lord is also known as Sarva Shaktiman. The only person who is all-powerful is the Supreme Lord. Therefore, only the Lord can remove all our ignorance, just as the minute the sun rises, it can easily dispel darkness. And hence, Arjuna is stating here that only you, my dear Krishna, can remove this doubt that I have, because you are Sarvagnya and you are Sarva Shaktiman. You are all-knowing and you are all-powerful. So in effect, Arjuna is asking, apart from you, who else can I go to resolve my problem? Who else can solve our problems for us except Krishna? So Krishna will answer these three questions of Arjuna from shlokas 40 to 45. So in 6 verses, the Lord will answer Arjuna's questions. And then in the last 2 verses, which is verse 46 and 47, the Lord is going to conclude the entire chapter. So the essence is, who do we approach when we have doubts? We approach Guru and Krishna. In this case, Arjuna's Guru is Lord Krishna. And therefore, it is only befitting that Arjuna is going to seek clarification of this particular question from Krishna. So we'll see what's Krishna's response tomorrow.